Stop trying to be understood. Have you ever explained yourself again and again, only to realize that the other person still doesn't understand you? You explain your intentions. You explain your silence. You explain why you made a certain decision. You explain why you walked away. And yet, they still judge you. They still misunderstand you. They still create their own version of your story. So you try harder. You talk more. You defend yourself. You prove your intentions. But the more you try to be understood, the more exhausted you become. Carl Jung understood something profound about human psychology. People don't see reality exactly as it is. They see reality through the lens of their own mind. And Stoicism teaches something equally powerful. You cannot control another person's judgment of you. You can control your actions. You can control your character. You can control your response. But you cannot control how someone interprets you. And once you truly understand this, you stop chasing people's approval. You stop explaining yourself to everyone. You stop trying to convince people who have already decided who you are. You become quiet. Not because you're weak, but because you finally understand where your power lies.
Chapter 1. People don't see you, they see their version of you. Imagine two people watching the exact same event. One sees kindness. The other sees weakness. One sees confidence. The other sees arrogance. One sees silence as maturity. The other sees it as insecurity. Same person, same action, completely different interpretation. Why? Because people don't simply observe reality. They interpret it. Carl Jung believed that every person carries an inner psychological world filled with memories, fears, desires, experiences, and unconscious patterns. That inner world influences how we see everything outside ourselves. Think about someone who has been betrayed many times. When a new person becomes quiet around them, they may immediately think something is wrong. But another person may see that same silence and think they probably need some space. The event is identical. The interpretation is different. This is why trying to make everyone understand you is an impossible mission. You are not communicating with an objective camera. You are communicating with another human mind. And that mind has its own history, its own wounds, its own fears, its own expectations, its own biases.
Chapter 2. Stop explaining yourself to people who want to misunderstand you. There is a dangerous habit many people develop. They constantly explain themselves. That's not what I meant. You misunderstood me. I didn't do it because of that. Let me explain. And sometimes clarification is necessary. But there comes a point when explanation becomes desperation. You are no longer communicating. You are begging someone to see you differently. And that's where your peace begins to disappear. Think about this. If someone genuinely wants to understand you, you usually don't need to explain everything. They ask questions. They listen. They consider your perspective. But someone who has already decided to misunderstand you can receive 1,000 explanations and still reject them. Because the problem isn't a lack of information. The problem is perception. And you cannot solve someone's perception by giving them more information. This is where Stoicism becomes powerful. The Stoics understood that your reputation exists outside your control. People will talk. People will judge. People will misunderstand. People will praise you. People will criticize you. But none of these things define your character.
Your character is revealed by what you... Chapter 3. You don't need everyone to like you. One of the most exhausting psychological traps is the desire to be liked by everyone. We want people to approve of our decisions. We want them to respect our choices. We want them to understand our intentions. We want them to see that we are good people. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You can be a good person and still be disliked. You can be honest and still be called a liar. You can be generous and still be called selfish. You can be loyal and still be abandoned. You can do everything right, and someone may still decide that you're the villain in their story. This isn't necessarily a reflection of your character. Sometimes it's simply a reflection of their perspective. And once you accept this, you become free. You no longer need universal approval. You only need integrity.
Chapter 4. Carl Jung and the Shadow. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we don't consciously want to acknowledge. Our fears, our insecurities, our jealousy, our anger, our weaknesses, the parts of ourselves we try to hide. And here's where things get interesting. Sometimes the people we strongly dislike trigger something inside us. Not always, but sometimes. They may represent a quality that we reject in ourselves. This is called psychological projection. We see something inside another person and react intensely because it touches something within ourselves. That's why self-awareness is so important. Instead of immediately asking, why are they treating me like this? Sometimes ask, why does their opinion affect me so much? That question can change everything. Because maybe the real problem isn't their misunderstanding. Maybe the real problem is your need to be understood.
Chapter 5. The Need for Validation. Imagine you post something online. You check the comments. You get 10 positive comments, but one person criticizes you. What happens? You forget the 10 compliments, and you think about the one negative comment all night. Why? Because the human mind is incredibly sensitive to rejection. We naturally want social acceptance. But if you allow other people's opinions to determine your emotional state, you hand them control over your mind. One person can make you happy. Another can make you angry. Another can make you insecure. Another can destroy your confidence. And suddenly, your emotional life is controlled by strangers. Stoicism offers another path. Don't give someone else the remote control to your emotions. You don't control their opinion, but you control your response to it. Someone says, you're not good enough. You don't have to prove them wrong. You simply continue improving. Someone says, you've changed. Maybe you have. Growth often looks like change to people who knew the old version of you. Someone says, I don't understand you anymore. You don't necessarily need to return to who you used to be. Sometimes being misunderstood is simply the price of becoming someone new.
Chapter 6. Silence is not weakness. There is a certain kind of silence that comes from fear, and there is another kind of silence that comes from wisdom. The first says, I'm afraid to speak. The second says, I don't need to. Learn the difference. Not every accusation deserves a response. Not every rumor deserves clarification. Not every insult deserves an argument. Not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. Sometimes, silence communicates something words cannot. It says, I know who I am. I don't need to convince you. I don't need your approval. I will let my actions speak. This doesn't mean you should never defend yourself. It means you should become selective about what deserves your attention.
Your attention is one of your most valuable resources. Don't spend it everywhere. Chapter 7. Let your actions speak. Imagine two people. The first spends years telling everyone, "I'm successful. I'm disciplined. I'm a good person. I'm loyal." The second says almost nothing, but their actions consistently demonstrate discipline, loyalty, and integrity. Who do you trust more? Usually, the second person, because character doesn't need constant advertising. If you have to repeatedly tell people who you are, you may be trying to convince yourself as much as them. Let your behavior become your explanation. If you're trustworthy, be trustworthy. If you're disciplined, be disciplined. If you're kind, be kind. If you're strong, stay strong without needing applause. Over time, reality speaks louder than arguments. Chapter 8. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. There is another important lesson here. You don't have to reveal everything about yourself to everyone. Your deepest thoughts, your fears, your plans, your struggles, your dreams, your personal experiences. These things are valuable, and valuable things should be protected. Some people will listen because they genuinely care. Others will listen simply because they want information they can later use against you. Discernment is not paranoia. It is wisdom. You can be kind without being completely open. You can forgive someone without giving them access to your life. You can love people while maintaining boundaries. And you can walk away without hatred. Sometimes, distance is not punishment. It's protection. Chapter 9. The more you know yourself, the less you need to explain. Here's the paradox. The less you know yourself, the more you need other people to define you. You ask, am I a good person? Was I wrong? Do they like me? Did I say the right thing? Do they understand me? But as self-awareness grows, you become less dependent on external validation. You start asking different questions. Did I act according to my principles? Was I honest? Did I treat people fairly? Did I learn from my mistake? Did I remain true to myself? These questions are much more powerful because they bring the focus back to something you can control. Yourself. Chapter 10. You cannot control all of the story people tell about you. Everyone has a story about you. Your family has one. Your friends have one. Your coworkers have one. Your enemies have one. And some of those stories may be completely wrong. But here's the difficult part. You cannot control all of them. Even if you correct one person, another person will create another story. Even if you prove your innocence, someone may still doubt you. Even if you become successful, someone may still criticize you. So stop trying to manage everyone's perception. Build your character instead. Because reputation is what people think you are. Character is who you actually are. And character is the foundation that matters. Chapter 11. Walk away from the need to prove yourself. There is enormous power in refusing to prove yourself. Someone doubts you? Keep working. Someone laughs at your dream? Keep building. Someone misunderstands your decision? Keep moving. Someone says you'll fail? Let them. You don't need to win every argument. You need to win the battle within yourself. Because sometimes the strongest response is not, I'll prove you wrong. It's, I don't need to prove anything. That mindset changes your entire life. You stop performing. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. You start living.
Chapter 12. The Stoic Response. Imagine tomorrow someone insults you. They misunderstand your intentions. They accuse you of something. They criticize your choices. What will you do? You have two options. Option 1, react immediately. Defend yourself. Argue. Explain. Become angry. Spend hours thinking about it. Option 2, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is there anything useful in this criticism? If yes, learn from it. If no, release it. This is emotional discipline. Not suppressing emotions, not pretending you don't care, but refusing to let emotion control your behavior. That is strength.
Chapter 13. When to speak and when to walk away. There are times when you should speak. If someone is genuinely confused, explain. If you made a mistake, apologize. If someone you love is hurt, communicate. But there are also moments when speaking achieves nothing. If someone has already decided you're wrong, if they don't want to listen, if every explanation becomes another argument, if your words are constantly twisted, then silence may be the wiser choice. Ask yourself, will this conversation create understanding? If yes, speak. If it will only create another conflict, walk away. Wisdom isn't knowing how to speak. Wisdom is knowing when not to. Chapter 14. Become comfortable with being misunderstood. This may be the hardest lesson of all. Learn to be misunderstood. Not because you don't care about people, but because you understand that complete understanding is impossible. Even the people closest to you won't always understand you, and that's okay. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. They weren't there for every struggle. They didn't experience every failure. They didn't feel every disappointment. They didn't see every sleepless night. They don't know every reason behind your decisions. So don't demand that they understand a story they never lived. You lived it. You know what it cost you. That's enough. Final chapter. Know yourself. At the end of the day, the goal isn't to make everyone understand you. The goal is to understand yourself. Know your values. Know your weaknesses. Know your strengths. Know your boundaries. Know what you're willing to tolerate. Know what you're willing to sacrifice. And most importantly, know when to walk away. Carl Jung's psychology reminds us that the journey inward is essential. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what lies within our control. Together, they teach a powerful lesson. Stop trying to control how the world sees you. Control how you live. Stop trying to convince everyone you're a good person. Live with integrity. Stop explaining every decision. Let your actions speak. Stop chasing approval. Build self-respect. Stop fearing misunderstanding. Become comfortable with your own truth. Because the moment you stop needing everyone to understand you, you become incredibly difficult to manipulate. You become calmer. You become more independent. And most importantly, you become free. So the next time someone misunderstands you, don't immediately rush to explain. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, do I really need them to understand me? And if the answer is no, let the silence remain. Let your actions speak. Let time reveal the truth. And keep walking. Because you don't need everyone to understand your journey.